Oh yeah, I live next door. You couldn't turn music down, could you? I'm trying to get our young one to sleep.
Yeah. Hiya, is that social services?
I'm a social worker. We've had an anonymous call saying that you've abused and neglected your child. I have been sent here to investigate. You will be required to sign forms giving me permission to conduct my investigation, including talking to your doctor, your child's teacher, and your childminder, or anyone else who has information about you and your family. You will also sign a form giving me permission to go to your child's school and talk to them without any parental interference. I can take your child away from you without a shred of evidence of any parental wrongdoing. You are completely at my mercy, and I already don't like you. I will not be held accountable for any wrongdoing, no matter how bad I mess up, because I am immune from prosecution, and the judge will simply rubber stamp a signature on any piece of paper I put in front of him. Why don't you tell me everything that I want to hear, whilst I go looking around your house for any safety issues that I can think of? I'm going to take your child away and throw it into a foster home. Then I'm going to require you to undertake a series of tasks, including alcohol tests, psychological evaluations, and parenting classes. These service providers will all help me to build my case against you, and no matter how hard you try, it will never be good enough.
Pete Middleton spends every spare minute of his life producing entertaining films and educational campaign videos, completely independently paid from his day job. In late 2012, his partner's children were taken into care, and after I'd heard what ridiculous allegations were made about him from the social services, I offered my time to collaborate and help to produce this film. After Baby P, the local authorities were granted a new line of inquiry to follow. And this, they did. Families taken down and destroyed without a shred of evidence. Children snatched from their schools, homes, and the mother's arms. Babies taken at birth, as the local authorities claimed ownership whilst in the womb. Toddlers snatched from playgroups. But we must remember these children are all protected from emotional abuse. Or rather,
prior to proceedings, I was one of them parents that looked down my noses at somebody who'd had children removed. It was scum. No smoke without fire. You did something wrong to your children. You obviously don't deserve them. I am a damn good parent. I've got my children.
so could it happen to anybody?
It has happened to anybody.
You need to clear your mind. You need to move on. I've been gone for so long.
When she met Pete, she instantly wanted to know everything about the profession.
Right.
And she approached me and she wanted to do it. She says, Mum, I want to be an actor. How do I go about it? Best person to ask, darling, is Pete. So
Yeah.
she fell into it that way and she instantly loved it all.
Yeah.
But yet, social services deem it as inappropriate because she's a 9-year-old girl.
Online, on digital radio, on mobile.
Aimed at drink driving and supporting a hard-hitting online video made by filmmaker Pete Middleton.
Real radio.
A film trying to stop people drink driving has been released. It's part of West Yorkshire Police's Christmas campaign. Emma Ibbotson from Leeds helped put it together. Her daughter also features on it.
The main story that we're looking at this morning is the number of people caught drinking and driving in West
I
Yorkshire.
feel very strongly about death caused by drink driving.
He's done it in a very, very clever way.
How effective do you think videos like that actually are? Maybe we do need the shock tactics to kind of really drive that message home.
I think that they will be effective to many people. I've got to put my hands and say well done to this guy.
Over the last 4 years that I've been in contact with Pete, he produces some absolutely stunning work that we are very proud to put our name to.
He ended up with commendation from the police.
Well, they said we run her over.
The way it was worded, you've made me look like a bad person.
Is she run over?
You're very, very clever, aren't you, how you word things. And
But we're not trying to be clever.
But
Stating fact.
yeah, but why didn't you say that film was then supported by the West Yorkshire Police and Pete is a good person? thousands of followers saying that I have done a good thing there.
You were a good person for raising it. Would that have made it better when we'd said that she'd been run over at the end?
Do you remember that advert a few years ago that if you hit me at 30 and then if you hit me at 40? I wonder what happened to her parents, because she was hit by a car and she was run over and killed.
He's a different kind of actor, according to social workers.
They're both backed up by the police, so I don't understand how it's different.
Can I practice?
No, we're going to go through it for a take. So.
Okay.
If we were genuinely bad parents, social workers wouldn't need to lie, because the case would hold itself.
Exactly.
It'd show abuse, it'd show neglect, it'd show things on such a significant level that they wouldn't need to lie in court reports.
As a parent, I've got the support of the local authority. They know everything he's ever done and have requested copies of it. We've been inspected on set, and in no way has he suffered any psychological damage from these things. In fact, it's increased his confidence, his self-esteem, and I will support and encourage him to continue down this avenue for as long as he's happy. He's been pulled about, he's been abused, he's played a murderer, and he can separate the reality from the fantasy.
So if we were to say, for example, that we didn't agree with being part and privy to the filming process, and that under no circumstances is she to be part to that, even though she was saying that she wanted to be part of that, but we didn't agree with it because it impacted on her emotional and psychological development and well-being. Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
I think she'd be upset when she was.
She would be upset, but she wouldn't be as upset as she is at the moment.
No, she won't.
Oh, it's not real though.
He was the child murderer.
So did he understand?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was just one big giggle, because it wasn't real.
And the amount of children being taken for physical abuse has dropped, while emotional abuse has increased. They use dead children as an excuse to take perfectly happy children.
Every single record that I've ever had is said fantastic parenting, safe, secure, really child oriented. I've actually worked as a nursery teacher. Prior to this, I'm university qualified. I've had my own businesses. I have got a criminal record, I'm not going to hide that. It's never against children, it's never in front of children, and I have got very, very high morals. My daughter attended the first day of nursery, being able to read, write and count and add up to subtract up to 30. It's because of the effort that I've put in, which is I've basically designed the perfect adoptable child. Yeah. So sometimes I wish I'd dragged my children up, because if I dragged my children up, I'd still have my children, and that's the issue.
We're currently just on our way down south to Somerset to see the journalist Christopher Booker.
No, he's the Telegraph.
Oh, the Telegraph.
Now he is. I hate him. I hate him.
Oh no! Who has been working with the Telegraph since the 60s, and he generally deals with controversial stories such as this social services scandal. It'd be really interesting to see what he's got to say about it all. He has dealt with a few people in these situations, such as Vicky Haig and people such as that. So it'd be really good to see what he's got to say.
People cannot believe that there is no smoke without fire. They can hear about kids being seized and they think, well, there must have been some reason for it. What's happened is the whole seesaw was tipped.
Yeah.
Where there is a genuine problem, social services may well not intervene, as we've seen on far too many occasions. And I mean, the Baby P was only one of quite a long list of stories where social workers had failed to stop some child being abused. Go for the easy targets.
Yeah.
They have this itch to intervene, and you see them, even when they're shown on television, which they are occasionally, you can see that these are people who are just completely blinkered to the point. All they can see is, we want to get our clutches on that family, and ultimately we're going to exercise the power we've been given by the state to seize the kids, take them into care.
Hi, Emma, it's Jeanette.
Hiya.
Hiya. He's got his own bedroom and everything, and he was just, as well as new in process of putting his clothes in drawers. And are you right? How are you bearing up? I know it's not an ideal situation. You know that we're still here to support you as well. Yeah.
Before a child can be removed,
Local authority requires referrals.
The local authorities closed the first referral, and according to Brooklyn High School, the second referral doesn't even exist. Children were stolen.
And then you get this whole other horrific side of the story. It's what happens when children are taken from their parents, who may not be the most perfect parents in the world, but at least are loving parents in many cases.
There's no abuse going on in the home.
Not
or
serious
like
abuse,
yeah.
no. It's far, far too many of them are being treated, when they go into foster care, the kids are treated far, far worse than anything that was ever even alleged against their parents, whether it was true or not.
Within 17 days of my children being placed in foster care, 17 days, my son was sexually molested by another child in the same foster home.
So basically they were sat in the room together on the sofa, and it was alleged that this other child has leant over and touched him on his bits, tickled him on his bits.
Very calmly, and to me that come over across as I don't care. The tone of her voice said that I don't care.
And they were at risk
of emotional abuse at home.
At home, but then as soon as they go into care,
yeah, my son is sexually abused more than 3 times. This young person had been showing my son pornographic DVDs, which in turn the social worker tried to twist back, saying he'd watched it at home. That's why he knew what it was. The specific thing was, she argued it was the TV channels he'd accessed it on.
Because there are some channels on
everybody's free video boxes, yeah, but they're all, if you go through to it yourself, you can see a lot of them are all pay. You have to pay to view that channel. Yet in the report she clearly states he was shown DVDs by this young person saying, look, there's sex in this. This is whilst he was being molested.
how is that your fault?
It's a social worker.
You weren't there.
I know I wasn't.
So how can this be put onto you?
Because she's a social worker and this is what they do.
Right.
If they fail, it is the parents' fault.
And then that's when I discovered I wasn't actually French. Southern Love, how about you? What do you do for a living? A social worker, and you're admitting that? So, like, when you were growing up, did you think, when I leave school, I want to be a kidnapper? How's business?
Please make a U-turn now.
Reasonably good foster carers are like gold bricks. They don't want the foster placement to fail, because you will now need to go rushing around. Look, there'll be lots of work for the social workers. It will look bad. You see, they approve these people to begin with. They're always short of foster carers, so it is blamed on the family. And it's absolutely standard and been going on for years.
If it had still been in my care, it had never happened. It was being left unsupervised by a foster carer that's paid to look after my son, and the social worker claimed as, we'll deal with it. We're looking into it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, bye.
You go home at night thinking of done as I can.
I've not been given that information. I want something done. I want it looking into, and I want something back to me, because I still have parental responsibility.
Why have you come here then?
Because I don't know the police station.
Do we know where he's living?
All I know is
you don't know where he's living?
But foster care, I'm not allowed his addresses, am I? Because
we can't investigate it.
Can you not?
No. How can we investigate if we can't get hold of him?
All I know is he's in foster care, and then they've got that address.
That's not about that.
So if he's under the care of the social workers, you can't do anything?
No, what we would say is, because we don't even know where this child's living, you see what I mean? We can't investigate if we don't know where he is.
Can't you get that address off the social workers?
Well...
My view on that, without understanding the detail of the case, is that there are more than enough grounds for the police to require social services to give them the details of the child's home address, and that they should formally investigate it.
I've actually just realised I've got the children's school reports at home, and I think they've actually got their address on.
I've had policemen come up to me and said, Andrew, get those kids out of that situation. You've got to get them away. And when you say, right, well, you come to me to the solicitors, oh no, I can't get involved. Right, a policeman's frightened of a social worker.
It's down to them really, because that child is in their care. You know, they've got control over him really. Yeah. I know he's still his mother, he'll always be his mother, but they will have the control over the child really. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. We would just, you know, automatically just ask them to investigate it.
You look at what goes on in those family courts behind closed doors, and you will not see fair trials. You might see some, but every week I hear 3 or 4 or 5 examples of where there is absolutely no question of a fair trial, where the most terrible things are going on behind closed doors, behind the wall of secrecy, where judges can accept evidence which is just made up hearsay, the most ridiculous claims can be made, parents want to challenge it. No, says the judge. No, you've got no right to challenge it. I accept what's been said.
So it's not about fact, and
it's not about evidence. It's not about fact. I used to believe it was until I got embroiled in it. If you ever got the opportunity to go to court, a family court, don't.
You know, you turn to section J of the court bundle, the police report, and it's just a blank page with a heading on it, because there is no police evidence. It's all hearsay. It's all made up.
Well, it's unbelievable how the family courts, they've been nicknamed secret courts, as I'm sure you probably know. The family courts are allowed to use hearsay evidence.
If evidence is produced, it can be challenged, you can cross-examine, you've got to produce proof.
Yeah.
Absolutely central to the whole idea of British justice. Family courts have completely chucked that out. They can accept the most appalling allegations and fantastic stories.
Some of the evidence I wouldn't even class as being hearsay. I mean, some of the evidence is nothing other than an opinion of somebody.
And the child did nothing wrong. So I think we really need to get a good look in there.
Evidence is what they decide it is.
And judges will accept that.
It's based on whoever wants to put whatever forward, and if the judge allows it, that is allowed.
The only people who would have the power to change it are the politicians. And we've got 635 MPs. How many of them are even remotely really concerned by this? One, John Hemming.
The unreliability of the evidence in family court proceedings is very well known. There's a barrister who left the country called Michelle Friedman.
She always tried to keep families together. That's what she was paid to do. Now, she wasn't a bent lawyer, but she said, in 10 years, I must have defended hundreds of families, and I didn't win a single case, because the whole system is rigged.
She knew this, that local authorities very often make up evidence. The system tolerates it.
She used a very telling phrase. She said, I realise now, looking back on my 10 years, that all I was doing was watching lambs being led to the slaughter.
And the system, because it's secret, tolerates lying in court, and it tolerates perjury, which isn't right.
When these experts make a prediction, they say, not you have harmed your child, but we think that one day you will harm your child.
So they pick on the vulnerable people where they can do a scam along the lines of, we think there might be a danger of emotional harm or abuse in the future.
I think part of parenting is having an insight and an understanding of children's development and knowing
what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years' time.
Knowing, what happens when children hit puberty, and there's a difference and there's a change in the hormones and the way they perceive the world around them. And a lot of the time they can become very rebellious, and they do challenge your beliefs and values. How are you going to manage that?
I can't say, because we don't know what it's going to be like in 3 or 4 years' time.
That's like arresting somebody looking in a shop window saying, I think you're going to go inside and pinch something.
I'm joking.
They have a thing called a fact-finding.
Right.
And once something has been accepted as fact, it must be treated from then on as if it's fact, even though there was no proof given.
I don't understand how this hasn't been noticed before.
Well, Cookie, I just want to point out, yes, the reason why is precisely because they are secret courts. Now, anyone can go into a criminal court and see what's happening. Any journalist can go in and report what's happening. But once you go behind the wall of secrecy into the family courts, you can't report what's happening. I can't report. I can give a version of what's happening, but I have to be very careful. Obviously, I can't name anyone.
Yeah.
I can't say where it's happening. It's just a mother lost her child in such and such a place, which I can't tell you about. I mean, it is ludicrous.
It is.
But that is why, over the last 30 or 40 years, you've had a completely different world growing up in those family courts, where the normal rules of British justice are chucked out of the window. Then the window is shut, blinds are drawn, shutters are put up, and nobody can know what's happening. If you're a 13 or 14-year-old and you're taken into foster care, first thing they do is take away your mobile phone. Second thing they do is they won't let you have a laptop, so you can't go on the internet. I mean, these kids, they are just not only cut off from their parents and from their friends, but they're also cut off from the world.
From the world, I know, it's unbelievable.
And I have managed, obviously there are ways and ways in which sometimes you've got some bright and ingenious child.
Well, you're an investigative journalist. So
who can find a way of talking to you. These are people who are going to grow up realising that something terrible is happening because it's happened to them and they've been horribly treated. So we have got a growing ocean of awareness that something absolutely horrendous is going on. As bad in its own way as sort of things that used to go on in the Soviet Union.
Well, it's been nicknamed the New Age Nazis.
I wrote about a Slovak family quite a few times recently. Now, they grew up both under communism and under Nazism. And the old grandmother remembered the Nazi days, and she said, I can't believe this is happening in Europe in the 21st century, because this is the sort of thing happened in my country when the Germans were here.
In this manner he died, as tyrants should, and was hung up by his heels.
Yeah, let me guess, you were just doing your job. Well, they used to say that in World War II. They were called the SS. Same initials. Go figure.
We haven't got people being killed, but we've certainly had some suicides.
To my wonderful daughter, Monday. I love you so much.
I mean, parents who lose their children can be so desperate that 2 or 3 of the ones whose stories we've been following have eventually been driven to kill themselves.
I know you did say before that you're pissed off with us, and people often are social workers.
So, if the police found a murdered social worker, where would they start? So many suspects.
Lambeth Social Service, they have stolen our kids through lies. Their stuff. Well, they've not stolen your children. They have stolen them. Because they are corrupted. It's part of common purpose. The court orders has not been signed at all, and that is against the law. That is child trafficking.
One of the utterly disgusting things about these people who are engaged in this child trafficking is that they have this limited little selection of mantras. Borderline personality disorder. Who in the world could not be interpreted as having borderline personality disorder? We all, when we flip, when we lose our temper, when we shout at someone, it is a perfect catch-all, completely meaningless label to put on someone.
Social workers think they're such wonderful, devoted, caring people that anyone who doesn't like them must have a personality disorder. So that means half the room, I think. Certainly includes me. But everybody, maybe.
Borderline personality disorder. Everybody's got one.
I've seen psychiatric reports written by people, by psychiatrists or psychologists, who haven't even met the mother in question, who have written, this woman is clearly unfit to be a mother because she is suffering from a borderline personality disorder. Not because they've met the mother, but simply because they've been told by the social workers a lot of lies. You have a whole profession now of these quack, joke doctors and psychologists who are constantly used. They're called hard guns.
Some of the experts, that's another industry in itself.
They're there to be used by the local authorities to write these totally meaningless, bogus reports full of psychobabble.
We have people who clearly aren't expert at what they're doing.
Often taken off the internet or from some template.
Or from a previous report they've written for the local authorities.
There was one particularly laughable example where a mother had to challenge a report submitted to the court, and she looked at it and she said, this is not talking about my daughter because it's talking about he all the time. And it was quite clear that the psychologists had simply taken something from somewhere else, fed it through her computer, but she hadn't noticed that the sex had changed to the person she was meant to be writing about.
Well, basically, they just use what they want to use. They don't care about
if it says what they want, it's great. If it doesn't matter how much money they've spent, they'll go on and do something else.
What did the judge say about this then?
It was magistrates in this case, and they ignored it.
It's a case of, it's like playing Monopoly with someone who tips the board up. They get to the point where they're not going to win, and the ball goes well, and you've got to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, you're still reeling from what's happened before, and why can't you let the past go, Mr. Barnard?
Yeah.
We're starting fresh. It's a new beginning. Let's begin again. And I've begun again in excess of 30 times. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
The challenge was made, and they said, oh, well, that's not relevant. The child still should be taken away. It just passed them by. We're dealing with very low-grade people here. And magistrates are the worst of all, because, of course, they haven't got even any legal qualifications.
Yeah.
At least the judges have got that.
Yeah. In family court, often the judge is a lay person.
I mean, there are one or two quite good judges. I don't want to be totally condemnatory. And there
we by no means.
There are also some very, very nasty and evil judges who behave quite beyond. I mean, they behave to human beings, people in front of them in the court, in a way which they wouldn't dream of doing if they knew that the public was allowed in and the press was there.
Such people who ill-treat children in this way don't go near courts. The sort of parents who go to the family courts are parents who are desperate, who love their children in general and want to get them back. They wouldn't go through gruelling cross-examination from nasty barristers acting for the social services if they didn't really love their children and want them back.
How is it that when children are seized, why is it the police are so compliant with it?
They took him from me and I was trying to protect him. So ever since that's happened, I feel like I've done something wrong. I didn't protect my son.
You're brought up to respect.
You're brought up to trust and respect authority.
Would you calm down if someone stole your child?
They had an order. If you look at it though, you can see it's photocopied most of it, and then you can see where the pen pressed down, where they filled out a bit of it. So that was an obvious fabrication, and they've never shown the original. And the police just blindly follow the order. They say they've got an order, they've got to follow it. You know, sort of reminded me of the Nuremberg trials.
They're not allowed to disbelieve the lies that they're told from time to time by social workers. So the social workers can sort of make things up, and then the police have to follow it. And so you get police protection orders, which are completely inappropriate, enforced by the police, because they have to believe the lies that they're told.
Once an order has been issued by the court, then although it might be social services that are giving that order to the court, in essence the police are acting on behalf of the court. So once the police have a warrant for anything, they are duty bound to carry out that warrant.
Inherently, that's how the police will have to operate.
We're not working for them, we're assisting them, aren't we?
At times they use their discretion to be sensible, but they are actually required really to do what they're told, and always would be, because it's the nature of a disciplined force.
I just don't understand how it's not been publicised. I don't understand how nothing is being done about it. Very, very nice gentleman. Absolute pleasure speaking to him. It's now raining in Somerset, and we're going to get back to sunny Leeds, and I'm going to eat my sandwiches and probably nod off as well.
What's them crisps come from there?
How far have we got?
We've done 301 miles. We've got 147 miles to go.
What time we set off this morning?
8:30.
And what time is it now?
It is 8:15.
And we're not even home yet.
For the love of the film. You can offer me any amount of money and there's absolutely no way I'd split a perfectly happy family up for money. And unlike a social worker, we're having to pay for the petrol myself.
Anyone who bangs on the door or rings the phone, I'm like that now. I think, oh, they want from me. I even said to Paul today, what are they going to take from me? Because every time someone comes round, even if it's my mum and dad, I left my mum and dad once standing on the door for 20 minutes. I think if I invite someone in, what are they going to take?
It's ridiculous. Some of the fabrication that we've come across just throughout doing this is ridiculous. Some of the fabrication that we've heard about that we haven't even seen.
Well, had it not happened to me and not happened to thousands of other people who basically have been destroyed. I mean, I've been lucky. I was forewarned when this started. And if you're out there, Barry Scott, I owe you a big one, mate.
Who's Barry Scott?
It was a police constable that came to visit the house after my ex-wife went.
And what do you have to thank him for?
He told me to record everything because he was a child welfare officer and gave it up after 2 years in disgust. It sickened him to the heart, and he called the social services lying.
We basically want to try and get judges arrested because obviously they've committed crimes and social workers arrested as well. So basically we're doing our job today. That's what we're doing. We're going around and basically we want to try and arrest these paedophiles, what's going on in this country today.
Well, if you know where these judges are, and they've committed the offence, why don't you go and arrest them?
I can do that.
Well, if they've committed the right offence, of course you can.
Okay. What's your name, please?
I'll tell you my name. I can be identified by my shoulder number.
By your shoulder number? What is your shoulder number?
I'll take a picture of it. You've got
okay.
How could they just take your children?
The risk of future emotional harm that I may radicalise my children to the English Defence League. I personally, I'm not racist, I've never been racist, however I am, and I haven't changed my viewpoints on that, I am extremely against Islamic extremists.
Well, there's nothing racist about being against extremists. There's extremists in any fashion. I'm not white, and if you were racist, I'm sure you wouldn't be sat here talking to me.
I'm against the IRA, however, I'm not against all the Irish. There is sort of, just because I campaign for parents' rights, I don't then turn around and say that every parent I work with is perfect, because some of them do need their children removed.
I received a phone call on Friday afternoon from the social worker stating that he would not be returned until the following Tuesday. And I stated, well, he's got to come back Sunday because he has nursery, he's got routine here. Now, there's been a serious allegation against you, that you have physically assaulted your son. They said, if you do not agree to your son staying with his father till the Tuesday, till we can start the investigation, we will take you to court and get an ICO.
In proceedings, when your children are taken into temporary foster care on what they call an interim care order, you give them contact with your children.
Right.
I was seeing my children twice a week.
Okay.
Tuesdays and Thursdays for an hour and a half after school.
No direct contact with either child, father, paternal grandparents. My father died in 2006, not having seen the kids more than once in one visit for about an hour.
Was that unsupervised?
That was supervised because the risk was that I'd film my daughter, because we're filmmakers.
Right.
They told the courts that we'd obviously be filming the children while in contact. That's a lot of film equipment to take in. Yeah, if we take us the whole of contact just to frame up.
If anybody could see the amount of equipment that was taken just to film us right now, it'd be hard to sneak that into a room with someone there.
Under a court, under two supposed to be qualified contact workers. Yeah.
There was no court order that social services had obtained to get them removed.
So they just took it upon themselves.
They just took it upon themselves to remove the children. They didn't even tell me how long it was going to be for.
Was there any paperwork for this?
No.
No
absolutely
paperwork?
No.
So they just took them. They just came in your house and took your kids?
Yes.
Social services don't simply wait for the business to come to them. They also actively seek it out. They'll talk to teachers, doctors, or anybody else they think might have information for them. They'll come into your house, they'll check every room, they'll look in the fridge. Some houses they found to be too dirty, some actually they found to be too clean.
I have got OCD traits, I don't hide it, I don't think that makes a negative parent. It basically means I do need to do the washing every single day, I can't use an item twice, and my home is clean and tidy.
One house, they found that they had too many books. Other houses had no books.
If you cry,
you're over emotional, there's something the matter with you. If you don't cry, you're colluding and you're got no empathy and something, you can't do anything right.
They asked could they speak to the children privately, saying that they will do it in a helpful and friendly way. Take them upstairs to perhaps the bedroom, perhaps, and when they get them there, they will grill them for information and then use that information later in the family court.
They sent me for a psychological evaluation based on the Kafkas report, which made me look a complete... I read it and I stated to my father at the time and the solicitor that had it not been about me, I would say this guy needs locking up.
Guardians are notorious for their partiality and subjective judgments, making up their minds early and never varying.
Kafkas are officially inadequate.
Officially?
Officially, as in Ofsted recently came out with their inspection result and said, Kafkas, you're inadequate.
So, okay, so then the children are not represented by anybody?
Well, they are represented.
Their side?
There's another issue about whether they actually listen to what the children say when the children have a chance to say anything.
It does concern me, the history to this case and the experiences of
But
the children.
I think what you're doing, Joe, is you're reading what the social service have written in that report.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can present false evidence. 50% of them reports are false.
Is it the factual stuff that you think is lies, or is it the opinion and the analysis?
Well, no, because they've written things in these reports that are untrue. And
like what?
They mention that I were arrested for domestic violence, and they're writing lies that a judge is going to see.
Well, that should be.
That's illegal,
That's
isn't
a straightforward one to resolve because it's a matter of record, isn't it?
Yes, but the judge doesn't see that. He just reads this report that says I was, and the judge is obviously going to think, oh, well, the kids out safely then.
And when she meets the kids, she said, oh, aren't they well behaved and polite, and they're not disturbed at all, but still sticks with her emotional abuse analysis.
So basically, in the Kafkas report, it made you look mentally unstable.
I followed, according to him, I attacked my ex-wife in Wales on an occasion where he stood in court and said that I'd done it. Unfortunately, I was actually talking to a barrister in Leeds, and the barrister was in court at the time. He was in tears because he knew that he'd committed a crime.
Yeah.
In this situation, family court is not criminal court. Too many people believe it is.
Why is it still allowed to be like this? People don't know about this. I didn't know.
Because they hit people with gagging orders.
The gag should be removed in a democratic country. You shouldn't be jailed for revealing your own name and speaking about your own grievances.
True transparency would prove the corruption within minutes. Not weeks, not days, not months, not years. Minutes. You let me into one court for a day, and I will prove at least 6 social workers or Kafkas officers have lied in any one court. And the judges have allowed it to happen. For whatever reason, whether it be monetary, fear, whatever. It's morally wrong. They are there to uphold moral standards, not fill their bank and protect their savings.
The family court is secret. It is a secret tribunal. If you say anything to the press, you will get jailed for contempt.
I was once told by it was recorder Jack. He said to me, any person, if you put them under a microscope, you will find something.
Yeah, of course. It's the same with anything. If you look hard enough for something, then you'll find it.
You'll find the rust.
I'm going to ask you a question on film. Can social workers be arrested for telling lies in court and committing perjury? Can they?
Anyone can be arrested for telling lies in court.
They can be arrested.
Anyone can.
Can we make a citizen's arrested in our rights if we have the evidence? If we have evidence, legal evidence to say they've lied in court, can we make a citizen's arrest? Can we do that?
What happened to the Kafkas officer?
He got promoted.
He got promoted?
Yeah. He believes that all his reports were destroyed because Kafkas destroyed their reports after 3 years.
So what was the outcome of this after the psychiatric evaluation had
When I
been
had
done?
the psychiatric evaluation and Tony Carlson found out that I'd spoken to Abigail Rawlins, the barrister,
Mhm.
and she told me, who was now as a judge, hello, And I know you asked me not to say this, but I've had enough, dear. It's time for you to come forward with what you know. She told me that Tony Carlson had made a report on another man a month or so earlier, and this man damaged his children physically, violently and sexually, as well, male and female children. He'd hospitalised them. It was all in the records, police records, everything. It was black and white. The man was living under an assumed name in Manchester. Tony Carlson went and did a visit because he made an application to see his children. And in his report, Tony Carlson states that I believe a leopard can change his spots and this man should have full unsupervised access to his children. And I know of 3 other cases where he has done it. I've actually spoken personally to the people involved, male and female. So I can't say the man's gender biased. All I can say is there's something wrong with him. I have since found out that he's bipolar and was practising as a Cafcass officer.
When a child is physically abused, what happens? It's generally drunken or drugged up parents who are very intimidated. In Baby P's case, the boyfriend had a couple of Rottweilers there as well as himself. Well, the social workers get intimidated, they don't go near them. Such a baby as Baby P is not fit for adoption anyway. They don't want physically abused children because nobody wants to adopt them.
They don't touch children who are actually being abused because they are not saleable.
What I like to do, I like to batter my kids because I know they won't adopt damaged goods.
They want nice, bright, blue-eyed, blonde children preferably who are suitable for adoption and they can meet their targets.
They're always pretty, blonde, blue eyes.
Nice and polite, blue-eyed, fair-haired.
Ideal adoption material, as they're called in the trade.
Why do you think it is that they choose these types of children to take away?
Well, if you had a choice between a brand new shiny car and a second-hand banger, what would you go for? That's putting it bluntly. They go for blue-eyed, blonde hair.
Brilliant. That's
brilliant. You know, that's the simple way.
The difference here that I suppose we're trying to achieve, both yourself, myself, Pete Middleton Pictures, and anybody else out there that are in the same situation, we want to try and form a unit because they can't take down a unit
without cohesion. You've got nothing. It's the old divide and conquer.
Therefore, they concentrate very much, and this is why I help probably more mothers than fathers, on single mothers, because they're more vulnerable. If they do have a partner, the social workers do their best to split them up.
If Pete leaves, I'm going with him, and the kids are going with him.
Yay! He has no contact till we do a full assessment of Pete, a full risk assessment. He has no contact with the children, and
He's got nowhere to live, so you throw him on. This is his home. Right, if I refuse to sign that contract, what happens?
And we're going to then seek
we'll have to go down that way then, because I'm not signing it.
While ever you are cohesive and together, you will stay firm and strong.
The local folk can bring their people in. So I need... Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm making the application clearly, and I'd like people to come in.
Well, let everybody else speak. You've had your chance to speak.
Yeah. Because then I would say that it's unfair.
So don't you get sick of waiting in corridors and wasting your time? He said, no, not at £500 an hour, I don't. And I said, my God, is that what you get when you're not even speaking or doing anything? He said, yes. He said, but my colleague over there, that lady, she's a QC. I'm just a barrister. She's a QC. She gets £2,000 an hour. So when they say that they're short of funds, well, you can take that with a pinch of salt.
What do you think would solve this problem?
The family court has to be disbanded. It was a major legal error. I tell people that it was the greatest British policy error since Munich.
The raindrops fall and the sun will shine. It's a saving grace for a troubled time.
Just driving around manic London, which again is an experience in itself.
Where are we going now? Straight on? Left. Yeah, straight on. Straight on, yeah. Trafalgar Square.
Our journey has brought us all the way to London. when I first came into this, I'm very new into this whole
Yes.
thing. I didn't know about any of this until we started filming. The reason we started filming is because of the ludicrous comments that and accusations that were made against my personal friends, the director and producer of this film.
I tell the mothers now, you know, if you do what I say, you're 3 times as likely to lose your child as win, I'm afraid. But that at least means you've got a 1 in 4 chance of winning.
Yeah.
If you have one of these shyster lawyers, professional losers, you haven't even got 1 in 1,000.
Yeah.
Because the numbers of care orders asked, only 0.25 are turned down.
I had this out with a barrister. I had a barrister. He was the one telling me that I should agree to everything and that Kafkas were correct when they...
They're basically just telling you what to do.
Oh, yeah.
They just try to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
The family court barristers, they're known as professional losers because they always lose.
Well, the paid losers are the ones who are defending the parents.
Solicitors are paid losers.
If I accept some fault in the care of my children, it will carry favour with the judge and they will come home. It is a barefaced lie. Your barrister is lying.
They tell the parents, go along with social services. You can't fight them. If you go along with everything they say, everything will be all right. That is the worst advice anyone can make.
So they're telling you to basically admit to something that
That
they
you've
didn't do.
never done. Your barrister will tell you to do this on a whim that if you do so, it will carry favour with your judge and he will see you have room for change.
Be prepared to lose. That's what they are paid to do. They're not paid to win for you. They will not push your case. My best recommendation is that you seek as much legal advice and lawful advice as possible and try your damned hardest to represent yourself.
It is always important to remember that a social worker told me many years ago that he used to work with parents' solicitors in order to undermine the parents' cases and ensure that the children were taken into care. And that sort of thing is still going on, and I have examples. Now, there are very good solicitors out there, but there are also solicitors who will undermine their own clients. I cannot say which is which, although I have examples, but be very, very careful.
If you admit to slapping your son in the face, then we could work together.
Parents are told, just as they used to be in Russia under Stalin's era, you confess what you've done and then we'll treat you sympathetically. You admit to something, even if you haven't done it, do it just to please the judge, the lawyers will say, and then you'll get... And of course, if they are foolish enough to admit it, then they're really lost.
Why would I admit something that I hadn't done?
Surely they should be struck off, shouldn't
Well,
they?
of course they should be struck off, but it's not that easy. You know, all these things take a lot of chasing through the system.
And is this happening frequently?
Ones where they completely lose the files, there aren't so many of, but there are other cases which are, you know, similar in their dubious nature.
So the only people who've got the files anymore are the solicitors?
Well, we're not even sure they've got the files, because you sometimes find files get mysteriously shredded. All right? Yeah, look, it's mad. It is mad. It really is mad.
Yes,
you know,
it is mad.
And the fact that people tolerate it is a bit shocking, but there you go.
Why do you know so much? And these lawyers that are supposedly professionals in law and are professionals in this area that they are in, why do you know more than them? Why is it more likely
I don't say I do know more than them, but their job is different from mine. Mine is to try and rescue the children. Theirs is to put a gag in the mouth of the parents so as not to annoy social services or the judge, to stop them speaking, in some cases even to stop them going to court, like they did for the people who made this film.
Yeah.
The mothers in that case, in say Emma's case, is listening to dodgy barristers who are there to make sure they lose, because of course you're allowed in court to defend yourself, but it's true, the courts are private, so that the stepfather, which is virtually what you are, Pete, I think, is not allowed in. Nobody, but the social workers can have everyone in they like, and they can sit in court listening to what one witness says, so they don't contradict him when they give testimony. It's completely one-sided.
Why is it still like that? Why are they able to keep it like that?
They blame the Human Rights Act, but they shouldn't. There's nothing wrong with the Human Rights Act. The Human Rights Act says that any person is entitled to a private family life undisturbed by intervention from public authority. That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And the people who drafted that meant that as a protection for the family from the state. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? They wanted to protect the family from the state coming in and doing something. And when I was in law school a long time ago, I was always told you interpret a statute by saying what did the people who drafted it intend when they did it. Well, in this case, the judges have completely thrown that overboard. They say, no, it doesn't mean that. What it means is everybody's entitled to a private family life, so that baby is entitled to privacy, and therefore anyone who gives away the name of the parents is invading the privacy of the child, and therefore they go to jail. And Harriet Harman said 200 people a year go to jail for that.
It just sounds like something they've just thought up on the spot. It sounds like something they've not even put any thought into.
Well, it's a sort of communism in a way, but not quite so severe.
Yeah.
But it is, because if you disagree with people, there's something wrong with you. You know.
And if you agree, then you're clearly not fit to
exactly
to look after your child. It's
exactly
ridiculous. It's
that. Exactly. You can't. They say we can't give you back your child because you don't recognise your error in abusing the child. All right, anything to get back the child. I'll admit my error.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid after abusing a child,
it's laughable. I mean, if you don't laugh, you cry. But
it's a terrible thing. Michelle Anthony, she had a baby a few months old, and she was with her mother, and she had a flat on the first floor, and there was a window. There was a drop of about 10 feet. That's all.
Right.
And she was laughing. She was leaning against that window. She overbalanced and fell out the first floor window. She woke up in hospital, and she was semi-paralysed, though she got her legs back again, but at first because of the shock.
Yeah.
And she couldn't even take the phone. They put it near her, and this was a social worker calling, not to say how are you, but we're taking your child because we think you tried to commit suicide, and therefore, and nobody commits exactly. And she fell over backwards, you know. So you don't fall over backwards, you know. I mean, it's just. But I mean, she's lost her child to adoption because of that. They accused her then of being drunk. She's teetotal. She doesn't happen to like drink. She did, however, take some kind of drug in hospital, which they gave her, and they found that in her blood.
That in the system.
And they blamed
what a surprise!
her. Yeah.
What a surprise!
No, I'm cautious. I cross-examine mothers in quite a cruel way, I'm afraid, sometimes, to get at the truth, because they want me to think well of them. So if they have done something that isn't quite right, it takes a lot of digging to find out. But I really do, and I go on. If they show me the court papers, I start from the premise. Well, suppose that everything the local authority said is true. Is it right to take the child? It never is.
No.
It never is for forced adoption. It can't be. I mean, in the case of the maker of this film, to say that he ran over his child in a film as a safety demonstration, when anybody knows that things like that are faked completely.
That was backed by the police as well. It was backed by the West Yorkshire Police as well.
They said it was a good thing he did.
Yeah, they said it was a brilliant thing. And they said that he'd run over his child at the end of the film, even though we have footage of it actually being done in reverse of the child rolling down
Anybody knows
slowly.
you don't run over your own child, or she'd be in hospital or something,
ridiculous.
You know.
I do think that social services have certainly gone over the top as far as, I mean, what parent would put their child at risk in such a way that they would actually run their child over in order to produce a film? It's absolutely a ridiculous statement to make, and no parent would put their child at risk in that way.
It's like police, you see. This target thing, which really came in with Blair, is at the bottom of a lot of evils, because police have to have a certain number of arrests, right, or they get told off. Social workers have to do a certain number of care orders and a certain number of adoptions.
Can you give a target on this kind of thing?
Well, it's all target-driven.
Soon Mark will have to pay for his own petrol and parking fees. By donating just one child today, you would help Mark and thousands of other social workers meet their annual target. Please text CHILD to social services and donate a child today.
If they don't meet the targets for adoption,
yeah, that's right.
Their budget will most likely be cut.
Well, it will be. It's in the agreement.
Tories complain about it, but the Labour did it and they haven't undone it. It's still just the same, or worse.
How is this kept secret?
All the controversial cases, the judges put gagging orders. I mean, I was in one case as a Mackenzie friend, and I had to sign an undertaking not to ever talk about this case to anybody, so I can't talk about it to you, for the rest of my life. And even if it's been in the papers afterwards, I still mustn't talk about it. I mean, they are so secretive. Originally, before social workers came in 1948, there were people called almoners, and they were in hospitals, and they were there to help people, and outside when they left hospital, help with their problems.
Yes, almoners, they were the original social workers.
And that's what social workers were meant to do, to help people with their problems.
Yeah.
I have never in all the years I've been dealing with thousands of cases, thousands literally, I've never met one case where they said, oh, that was a wonderful social worker, he solved our problems. Not once even, but that's what they were created to do. By statute, it says to reunite families.
Why are you filming me? Because I don't really want to be filmed.
They don't want to be filmed.
Well, because you're a social worker, and do you know what this time says? Yeah, have you read it? I don't want to be filmed.
They don't want to be recorded.
Oh, you are filming me?
So you've got it audio recorded or something. For me, I don't consent to being recorded or filmed or anything like that.
Who are you? A social worker. Both social workers. You're both social workers. Yeah. What we do is basically is to steal people's children and then abuse them. Would you like me to film you? Can you put that down, please? Because we're having a conversation like that. That's not fair.
Why is that? Why do social workers not like being filmed?
It doesn't help anyone. It makes your life more stressful, it makes my life more stressful. It also means children we work with, they're going to lose out the most.
If you were a social worker and you got a mother screaming in pain, bereft because you'd just taken her baby, would you want to be filmed doing this? It's true.
He says to me, I have no problem with you recording me. Social worker, I do not want to be recorded. It's not in the best interest of the child. It's against the law. I tell her it's not. Policeman's just said it's not. Who's right?
I mean, they're doing such disgusting things to people, giving people real pain, you know, and look sometimes as though they enjoy inflicting that pain.
And I suppose the reason they don't want to be filmed, I mean, it just shows
what they do.
They clearly know what they're doing.
You don't mind being recorded, do you? You don't? Oh, well, tough shit. See, how do you like it?
One reason why public officials don't like being recorded is you can then prove when they lie, which is why they resist this all the time.
What can we do as a collective? What can the ordinary person do?
What you can do is make films like this, publicise it. The one thing they are frightened of is publicity. They often say to people like me or Christopher Booker, the judge said, why do you only listen to the parents? You only hear one side. So he rang up the local authority and said, can you give me your side? They went rushing to a judge and got an injunction stopping publishing.
Well, I tell you something, Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I have to say I've followed a lot of the things you've been doing whilst we've been doing this, and it is a pleasure to speak to you, and it really is brilliant that you've pieced together a few missing pieces of the puzzle.
Good.
And I hope to see you again soon.
Yep, thank you. Good.
We're on our way to see someone called Cornell. He's helped us with some of the footage that we've got in the film, and it's going to be interesting to meet him as well.
They stole my children through false allegations of child abuse. To my understanding, when they make these false allegations, they need to have evidence. That is the main thing in this world, because they don't have any evidence. It's all hearsay, she say, in the family court.
What's Triple P? Just explain Triple P to us.
Triple P is positive parenting. To be a parent, right, you got to show that you can do 100%.
So this basically is a certificate that proves that parenting is something that you can do. You are a good parent.
That's what it is, yes. It means that me and my partner, we are good parents, we have passed that. This one is also again Nicola Thatcher's, right, because there's like stages.
Okay.
And this one is my one as well.
Brilliant.
That's the level one. We inquired about these parenting classes and we passed them.
So you actually went out to find them yourself. There was no social worker, there was no judge that ordered you to go do these. You wanted to prove that you could be a parent, and you went out and did it.
And we made an effort. We didn't sit down. We went out in the field and we found out information. We went to the library and we done all this, and we done it.
The fact that you went out and you went to find these courses yourself off your own back, which is amazing, it's brilliant. Yeah. And if there are social workers and there are judges that can still say that you're not fit to be parents, why are you being awarded these things if you're not fit to be a parent?
That's my point precisely.
Well, how have they accused you of this?
Well, they made it up. That's what they did.
Why would they make it up, Cornell? Just out of interest.
That's what social workers do. They tell lies on innocent parents. She was taken when she was about 5.
She was about 5, okay.
5 years old, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and how about the
other one, is 3 years old now.
Okay.
You know, and we went to Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and that's when they abducted her.
So they abducted your daughter from Republic of Ireland. How old was your youngest daughter when she was taken?
She was just from newborn.
From newborn? When... Oh my God, so they literally stole her from as soon as she was born. How did that... And you were in Ireland as well, so it was outside of their jurisdiction.
Republic of Ireland in the Rotunda Hospital, and the Irish authorities, they came there and they called up the English authorities and stole up my other child.
Grandmother is allowed the 2 older kids but not the baby.
Why is that then? Because I think she's not competent to look after a baby?
Well, it's very, very difficult. And you imagine the effect on the older children, that they've had baby with us and suddenly they're told their sister or brother, I can't remember on this one, but they're told their sibling can't stay with them, and they start blaming themselves for the fact their sibling's been taken off them.
You do not mention to anybody that you're pregnant, you bugger off before you attend your first maternity scan. You should do a clear blue or a pregnancy test and then you should be gone. You don't go to the midwife, you don't go to the doctor and get it confirmed. You do nothing, you pack your bags and you go. Because the second that it is highlighted, you're caught. Simple as that.
So I would say to anybody with a child not to come to the United Kingdom at the moment. It's a dangerous place to be.
So is that your mate then? Yeah? Yeah, he always travel in pairs.
Come in then.
Do you abide with common law?
Do I abide by common law?
Yes.
I abide by common law and statute.
Sorry, we don't agree to statute.
Right.
You need my consent.
You need your consent for what, sorry?
You need my consent for statutes and acts to be enforced.
I had social services knocking on my door a couple of weeks previous on the 11th of the 12th, 2013.
Can you explain why, please?
Because we believe your partner's pregnant.
And what's that got to do with you?
Well, we wanted to, because of what's happened before with social work involvement. We wanted to just...
Have we broken any laws?
Not at the moment.
Have any allegations been made?
No, not at the moment.
Have any allegations been made?
There's no allegations made
No?
of harm to the child. That's why we're here. We want to talk about it.
Stating that there had been no allegations of child abuse, that what I was doing, which is an unassisted pregnancy and an unassisted birth, is not illegal. So they had no reason to be at my door.
Well, there's no harm to the child.
I know, but that's...
Have you witnessed this?
No,
this is what we want to talk to you about, Paul.
Children you can most readily get adopted are babies, because people want babies. So
Because then they can influence them more readily,
Well,
I
yes,
suppose. They can be theirs rather than remembering their previous life.
Hi, social services. Are you looking at a child to steal or something?
Yes, they are.
Of course you do.
Yeah, you're looking for a child to steal, aren't you? You're corrupt. You lie. Rubber stamp everything. You're corrupt.
But they still wanted to come in to cause controversy.
Leave.
Okay, well, we'll go. All right, but we will come back, okay?
Don't come back.
No, we
Do
will
not come back.
We will come back. All right?
You will have a fight on your hands.
Well, I hope not, because she's pregnant. We won't want any harm brought to her.
I meant legal
All right.
and lawful fights.
Right, okay, that's fair enough. That's up to you. All right.
Don't try to assume that I'm going to resort to violence.
I never. I just thought when you. Meant
Yes,
fight-
you just did. That's none of your concern.
Right, okay. All right.
Child stealing scum, go away. Thank you.
It's not only about my children, it's about everybody else's children.
Of course.
I had to, take a polygraph test.
So you've taken a lie detector test, and did you pass, Cornell?
Yes, I passed that one.
Of course you did.
I passed that one with flying colours.
Brilliant.
And I had a social worker swearing at me, telling me to get a life.
So, okay. So you have, oh my gosh, actually this is really, let me just show this. Do you reckon the camera can see this, please? Dear Mr. Cornell Brown, I am writing this letter as a way of apology for my conduct during a telephone conversation with you in January 2009.
Yes, a friggin' life. And just for the people.
During our telephone conversation, I lost my temper with you and spoke to you in a manner that I have never spoken to you before. This behaviour was uncharacteristic of me, as you are aware. I regret the use of the language and tone that I spoke to you on that day, for which I am truly sorry.
I don't care what you have to say. Because I don't care. You could be recording this phone call for all I know. I really do not care.
I hope that this apology goes some way to address the feelings of hurt that you may have had at the time. Yours sincerely, Sharon Simon, social worker, child looked after Team 2. Now, I'm sorry, but if you're a social worker and you're swearing at someone and telling them to get a life, then realistically, you shouldn't be in that job. If if that happens in another type of job, you get fired straight away.
Right,
I can promise you that. And you know what? That's not the kind of person that should be in that job. You know what strikes me the most, Cornell, about you. And you know what? I have to say, first of all, that I really do admire what you do. Because I admire that you not only are you trying to fight for your own family, but you're trying to fight for everybody else's. And the first thing that kind of strikes me about you is that regardless of any learning difficulty that you may have, regardless of any of that, you seem to fight just as hard, even harder as some of the professionals out there. And you know what? I have to say, continue doing what you're doing, continue fighting, and I promise you, Cornell, that one day something good will come of this, because you're doing a good thing.
That's what they are doing. So please laugh off and sign up to.
And I have to say, from myself and Pete Middleton Pictures, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I hope that we can continue working with you.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Brilliant. Okay.
Oh, Pete, it's just so funny the way they said, do your worst. Just makes me laugh every time. Just the fact that they said, do your worst, and it's like, alright, we'll make a film about you. Rain or shine, them social workers are mine.
We are individuals, and as such can be made to look irresponsible, idiotic, threatening. My only saving grace that's kept me sort of at liberty, I have no restraining orders, no criminal record, no convictions, I've never been outwardly violent, I've defended myself, but I've recorded things. And that has protected me.
Can I just ask, have you got any recording equipment today?
Probably about.
Right. Is that what you're wanting to do? Are you wanting to record this meeting?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Because one of the things I would have to say to you is that I wouldn't agree to that.
On what grounds?
Because firstly, it's not appropriate.
The only time that recordings are necessary are when people lie, and if people are not going to lie, being recorded shouldn't actually concern anyone.
Because you've had such a bad experience in the past with professionals, and I appreciate that.
And professionals should be professionals, not...
Exactly, yes they should. But as a professional today, what I'm saying is it's not appropriate to be recording. If you find after this meeting that you feel like you want to record me because I'm telling lies and you don't trust me, that's absolutely, I may agree to that, I may not, I'm not saying I would.
Does it come in the warranty? Ooh, let's not focus on the warranty. You can just take the toaster away, and if it stops working, you can bring it back in our second meeting. In that case, I'll take it. You keep the change, young man. Thank you.
One of the things that I would advise you to do, and this is not just related to criminal law, is to get a device like this or smaller, or your iPhone or whatever. Every conversation you ever have must be recorded.
The fact that you recorded things, that's kept you out of prison, is it?
7 times at least.
7 times?
Oh yeah. Social workers have accused me, Kafkas officers have accused me.
I've come across so many cases where I've told people, make sure you record this next meeting, and they've gone, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And they go into the meeting and they come out an hour later and they said this, and they said that, and they said this, and I said, you've recorded it, haven't you? And they said, no, I forgot.
About £45 to £50 buys you solace.
What do you mean I can't bring it back? You told me I could.
You have 1 5-second burst of audio, video that proves your point. It destroys everything that they're saying.
And sometimes just the simplest thing, there are lots of cases out there now where social workers have been tripped up because of recordings.
You can tell them what they want, and if they want to twist it, you will be the evil person.
But this is things
This
that
is your own
matter.
character that's been assassinated, right? That doesn't change.
Yeah.
If we'd never met today and you had read a report before meeting me, you'd have thought, oh, bloody hell, let's not go round.
When you've been personally attacked, doesn't matter who by, you are aggrieved and you're still hurt.
Of course.
And you're going to defend yourself.
Exactly.
But I'm exhausted, I've got no money, I'm tired. I'm all the things they want me to be.
Why are you going to handle me? Where's the danger? These people are the ins and outs. Yeah, not where's the danger? Oh, can I curse this a bit? Yeah, you're a child trafficking scumbag.
Because of all the reports now, it's in my head that I'm a horrible person. and it's in my head that I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I'm violent, I'm aggressive, I'm useless.
I want to go over there and I want to do damage. I want to get a JCB early in the morning. No, a big earth mover. I would do it. I've driven trucks. And I would go over there and I would start and I would take out that house and I would go on and I'd take out the next. But I can't do anything because the children are kept as a human shield.
There's only certain elements of common law that you can make a citizen's arrest on. That's like murder.
What about child abduction?
No.
There's no way you can take this to court.
I haven't got the means or the funds, and if I could find a solicitor or barrister, I would be talking tens of thousands of pounds just for the first hearing. And these people will drag it on for years, not months, years. They know that they can deplete your funds no matter what resources you've got. I know of one person that the parents were literally millionaires, and within 18 months they were almost broke. Through 18 months of family court.
It's ridiculous. Family court. This family court.
Well, some people say it's a money-making machine, and I think that people with low moral standards are operating within it and need exposing.
Surely an airbed is not suitable for a growing child to sleep on, whether she prefers it or not.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to phone the police about them next door. Someone's going to get hurt.
I'm cooperative.
The senior judges running the family division, the president of the family division and the senior judges must know what's going on.
Okay. Do you think that the social workers know what's going on?
Well, they're just people at the coalface, the
pawns,
the soldiers on the ground, you see.
Right.
Social workers are at times fired for telling the truth in court, and experts need to keep the local authority sweet to keep the money coming in and pay their mortgages. Now, not everybody goes with the flow on this. Some people stand against it, but it's very difficult.
It's policy. This is why it's so keen on covering it up.
The system basically forces social workers into making the wrong decision. So it's wrong to demonise the social workers. The people who are at fault here are actually the government for setting up the system in the first instance.
It shouldn't be like that. The social services should be there to protect our children. And they're not. They're there to scare us into doing what they want us to do.
So basically, if they don't find these kids for adoption, if they don't find an excuse, whatever that excuse may be, whether how minor it is or major, they will lose money. Yeah. So in effect, children are being adopted because of the monetary incentives.
Yes.
I don't particularly like people. I don't, and it makes it very difficult to be a social worker. Which is the reason I don't like people. So it's circular.
If you don't meet your target, you're also docked across the board in your entire grant. So the incentive to find kids for adoption is overwhelming.
In theory, a child should only be in foster care if it's necessary, not for just stupid reasons. Well, what would be stupid reasons? Well, in my view, if you've got a situation where Mum's been beaten up by Dad and they've split up, and Mum's got the kids, you shouldn't take the kids off Mum. Well, why do they then? Well, you have to ask them. It's called... Well, you're an MP, you make the laws, yeah, but the point is the courts don't necessarily follow the laws, because they're in secret. They don't necessarily follow the laws properly, and all sorts of procedural things go wrong.
Don't worry about it, we'll stand here all night.
Well, you can stand here all night then, sweetheart. It's too cold for you to be doing that, and to be honest, you're supposed to be out catching criminals. Now, I've done nothing wrong.
I'm not calling you a criminal.
No, but that's what your job is. Your job is to go catch criminals, people that actually break the law.
After dealing with these two police officers, all of a sudden another four turned up.
Alright, we're here to do a welfare check on your child.
Right.
So if you facilitate that, I'm sure we can assist you.
I requested that only 2 officers enter my home.
I will let 2 officers into my house. 2.
I'm the sergeant, so Rowan will come in, we'll have a chat to you, alright, and we'll take you from there.
And they asked me very nicely, could you just make sure the dog's not in the way, you know.
I don't know your dog, you know your dog. Would you be able to get your dog under control in a different room away from the baby, so we could just go in and do the welfare check without having to worry about dogs. It could be very, very straightforward, this. I don't think it has to be as complicated as it seems.
I know. You don't need a dog shield at all. She's not aggressive whatsoever.
Just to tell you guys, you have been recorded.
I know, we are aware of that, thanks.
Okay, even on the computer.
That's fine.
We expect you to honour your oath today.
We're going to checking the welfare of a small child. It's nothing to do with criminal investigation at this stage.
Okay.
Said that we're coming in to basically check the welfare of a child, and we have how to do that to save life and limb.
Save life and limb is right.
That's common law, yeah.
Yeah, that's common law.
Yeah.
So we can enter on that.
Okay, yeah, then we grant you permission to come and view the child.
Simple as that.
You've got one child removed every 20 minutes in the UK, 24/7, 365 days a year, right now. So during this today, how many kids have been removed? And it has to be immediate risk of harm, remember that, for any removal, right? And it's obviously not the majority of the time, we're all proof of that.
And the superior officer has come into my home after again clarifying that there was a welfare check, that he was under his oath, that all of a sudden, due to my concealment of pregnancy, that they were forcibly taking my son from my care.
Concealed pregnancy.
I haven't concealed a pregnancy
at
all.
Well, we're going to take the child. Why are we on that?
Whoa. No.
Yes.
No.
I am a breastfeeding mother.
That's fine. Spence?
No.
Just come in.
No. Under what law?
And then the rest barged in.
What court order? I want a court order right now in this house, signed by a judge.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Right, can you say very well?
Sal, I mean,
I want a wetting signature. Are you getting nervousness from me?
Gary,
come
outside.
I've been peaceful.
No, you have.
They've assaulted my partner. They've assaulted me. And we caught it all on film.
Come outside. Come outside with the officers.
Can I ask you why?
Because you're obstructing us.
I'm not obstructing you.
Just do me a favour. I know.
No, please. No.
Nobody say this.
This is fucking illegal.
Go now. Stay calm. You're obstructing me on duty. Now, please leave.
Paul was in no way obstructing. He was at the other side of the room at the time of his arrest.
Why are you taking my son? Why are you taking my son?
He was never read his rights, so he wasn't arrested.
Our child has been stolen!
Right.
Our child has been stolen!
Right.
Our child has been stolen! Our child
You need to speak to John Emming, because he's got the bloody statistics.
We know, for instance, last year that about 11,000 children were compulsorily taken into care. That compares to the figures in 1995 of 5,500. You have to ask yourself, are the children any safer now that 11,000 are taken into care each year rather than 5,500? I think the answer is no, which gives you evidence to the fact that the care system's taking the wrong children into care.
Why do you think they're taking children away from perfectly good families and putting them into foster care with people that could possibly abuse them themselves?
It's money. It all boils down to money in the end. They get thousands of pounds per child just on the day they remove them. And the longer they can keep that child in care, the more money they get in their back pocket. And they get their points for their little catalogue.
Up till 2 years ago, there were millions of pounds, which I listed on my website, given to the councils for fulfilling their adoption targets. There was such a fuss about this, adopting people just to get the money, that the targets were abolished officially, the money target. But the targets still exist. The instruction from Tony Blair, the Prime Minister at the time, to increase adoptions by 40% in so much time, that still exists, and they still go for adoptions.
I'm on Dun & Bradstreet at the moment, and then you go over here, it says social company, social services. Let's go, and there we have it. All these are trading for profit companies. 20. Is it any wonder they want to take our kids into care? You know how many of these social services are there? Yeah, pretty interesting, huh?
So they do very nicely, the judges do very nicely, and then of course the adoption agencies do very nicely. Lots of ex-social workers set up. There's an article which I reproduced in the Evening Standard where, some of them, they paid themselves a salary of £1 million for the year, and they get £20,000 or 18,000, I think is the figure, for arranging each adoption.
It's sick, it's wrong, it's twisted. You cannot sell children. You've got websites out there run by government agencies that are actually selling children.
All with first names, characters, and easily recognisable by neighbours.
They have adoption parties as well, and adoption shops.
And they're allowing the children to play and to perform, if you like.
Bring your kids along. Free balloons.
They've got bouncy castles, ice cream.
Yeah, I know.
Let me get this straight. You get all the kids there, you put little labels on them. At the end of the night, you just chuck them in a bowl and you just help yourself on the way out.
I don't want a child that's just 5. I don't want a boy. I don't want 3.
And they have a child of the day every day because that one hasn't sold, so it's reduced price.
It's disgusting.
That's fine. But if a journalist identifies bubbly little 5-year-old Sharon or whatever, he or she could be put into prison for contempt of court.
They've been getting away with it since the early 90s, since the family court was set up.
So is that your view then, that we just take children into care? I think it's a lot of people. I think that's a misconception.
The adoption agencies are now running a high-powered campaign, How Marvellous Adoption Is. Wouldn't you like to do it? You can add to your family.
They're showering £3 billion a year of public money into the pockets of foster carers because they've got this huge industry which has been built up with lots of other parasites feeding on it, like the fostering agencies which organise foster carers.
I think that's a misconception.
The word truth and the word social worker don't go very well together, I'm afraid.
So what time tomorrow can myself and...
I'm out tomorrow.
I mean, what we can do is we can always have a conversation with the police and see about having you...
Arrested?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd rather that?
I want a solicitor.
Well, that'd look really good on the CAFCAS report.
Oh, it would, wouldn't
if you're
it?
wanting to have contact.
Yeah, so would this recording.
Oh, come on!
They coerce the kids into making false allegations, and suddenly the police are involved and I'm the evil man.
Nobody's saying that.
Oh, you've just said it.
No, I never said
You've
that.
just said you're going to arrest me if I don't agree to let you see me tomorrow at the house.
I never said that. You've said that.
I can play it back.
You do that and you'll see that I didn't say that. See about having you...
Arrested?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd rather that?
Got you.
You can build your own picture of the words that you think I've said and...
You said we can get the police to arrest me.
By the way, I think it's highly illegal what you're doing in taping a conversation without somebody's permission.
Take legal advice.
So social workers threaten to have parents arrested if they don't meet the term.
Abuse and threats are very common.
I would stop putting up the billboards. That's just making parents angry. Whenever we go past, we know what we're going through, and we're having to see signs about how great it is to be a foster parent. No, it's not. It's not good for our children either. My children often comment on how they hate seeing the billboards and the signs up.
At court, I get the colour version.
Yeah.
Told that I will be stopped seeing my children and a court order restraining me from going to court for a period of 6 years because of this. Now, I thought, I recognised that.
Yeah.
I happen to have some pages. So
you were your obsessive compulsive self, and you kept copies, didn't you?
Yeah, my obsessive compulsive self got CAFCAS to fax me the evidence against themselves. So I read it, and I noticed scribblings out.
When I come back from my dad's, and my mum knows what has happened while I have been at my dad's, my mum shouts at me and sometimes swears at me. Now that's the original copy that you got, that they sent you.
Yeah. The fax header's there.
That's the original fax copy
4 months
that they
earlier.
sent you 4 months earlier. What's actually shown when they go to court, it's ridiculous. It's laughable. It's laughable. It says, when I come back from my dad's and my mum knows what has happened while I have been, and then, all of a sudden, it's all crossed out and it's all scribbled out. And then at the bottom, in what looks to me, I mean, I can't be sure, but what looks to me like completely different handwriting there, because when I come back, I sometimes get angry as my dad questions me, and it makes me sad. This has all been very neatly crossed out for a child. When you're a child and you're crossing something out, you don't have boundaries, you just cross it out. This has clearly been altered. It's clearly been changed.
No criminal prosecution whatsoever.
You know, they were reading it out, they were reading out their own words, and none of it made any sense. You know, it was contradicting itself in many places. And then they decided to ask for an adjournment so they could amend the paperwork.
There is no law in family law. None whatsoever.
When asked, why didn't you take this to the police? They said, oh, we did, but the police said it's family law case, we can't touch it. And there seemed to be a culture of acceptance within constabularies that they were not allowed to get involved in family law case. That is absolutely and manifestly untrue.
Alright, okay, so today we're in sunny Liverpool, attending an Every Child Matters conference. Look at that bus there. Yeah. Look at that.
Under a low bridge.
And I can't wait to get there, to be honest with you. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like and what people's stories are.
They can come along, make up any allegation, take your child, 26 weeks, it's gone. Simple as that. And there's not a damn thing we can do about it. And then you say, well, you can have letterbox contact. Well, that's a joke. That's the biggest. Who's got letterbox contact here? yeah, that's my sentiment as well. Yeah, I even said at the start of it, yeah, you're giving my letters to my daughter. I don't think so. I says, we'll play the game here, but it's a joke. Would you trust a social worker to give a letter to your daughter? No. I wouldn't trust a social worker anyway. I don't do drink, I don't do drugs, I haven't got an anger management problem, as they stated in court, because I turned around and said, well, if that was a problem, then you'd be dead by now, since you're still alive, so there you go. So call it the care system. And I half-jokingly once said we should sue them under the Trade Description Act, because it ain't the care system at all. It's the abuse system.
What is Brynellan community like, really? What?
Within my first week of being there, I was raped by a member of staff and impregnated. This is where Phillips reigned for 18-20 years over people's lives and destroyed them.
Take it that's the principal that you mentioned earlier, Malcolm Phillips. What was it like being back there with your child?
I didn't want to be there. I just didn't want to be there.
Did you tell the social workers that?
Oh yeah, she knew I didn't want to be there.
What was their response?
Oh come on, you'll be alright, you'll like it once you get inside.
It was on this corner and you jumped out of that?
Straight out onto the grass, tucked and rolled and gone.
That was your escape, right?
Yeah.
Phillips had his own flat there
on
as
the
well.
girls' wing, yeah. That was used for film nights on a Friday.
Could you stop there for a sec?
Got a gardener sniffing around. She's pulling me back down there.
Yeah, she's just been asking what we're filming.
Yeah, she's really needed permission to be here. Tough. I just mentioned obviously why we're here and he got quiet and you were off.
Oh, I told her we were doing old buildings.
Tell him about the children.
I said it used to be a children's home. I said you are aware of what went off it, and it's like really permission.
Really?
So then yes, he is then.
Yeah.
So he's aware, but he's gone.
What the hell is going on in these homes? Yeah. Where these poor little 13 and 11-year-old girls are being taken out night after night and treated like this, and they are in the care of social workers.
It's unbelievable.
And we had the MP for Rochdale, who made a speech about this in the House of Commons. He had been approached by health workers, not social workers, who had seen what was going on. They had tried to raise with the social workers, why are you not protecting these girls who are in care? To which the social workers replied, if they want to go out and become prostitutes, that's a lifestyle choice. How? These are girls who have been taken into state care, and these I mean,
they've been taken out of a family environment to be protected from abuse. Yet when they go into these care homes,
they are systematically abused over years, as we saw in the Oxford case. And the social workers know what's going on. The foster carers know what's going on. They don't intervene. In Oxford, we had the case of the carers in the case of one of these girls who had been going out and buying sexy underwear for a 13-year-old girl, so that she could go out and be mass raped by this gang. I mean, we are dealing with complete, utter lunacy here.
It's unbelievable.
It is evil beyond belief because it stands everything that we accept to be the way reality is structured in our lives on its head.
It's ridiculous.
It is the complete reverse of, and that's what evil is, of course. It's the opposite of good.
How do you feel about seeing that name on the wall just there? Scarecoat Lodge.
It's disgusting.
Sorry.
Just a quick question. Is it very regular that they tend to switch evidence?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They manipulate it to their own ends.
There's a lot of people that we've talked to, that we have with the Oxford film, that they've received evidence, again, evidence has come back through and it's been changed and altered, and writing has been scribbled out.
Even though the housing officer, Miss Cross, stated on numerous occasions she wanted nothing to do with this case.
A bit like the elephant in the room. I know what's happening with social services. Nothing to do with me. I'm not going to get involved.
We have emails between her and the social worker, Miss Porter. One email between Christine and Jeanette was, "We have all the 3 children in care now. Do what you want with the house." They changed our tenancy without our consent, removed Pete from the tenancy, and incurred us a £3,500 rent debt, which obviously worked in their favour in court.
It's been wiped. Your medical records of ever being pregnant and having a baby have been wiped.
Yeah.
So
My medical records do not reflect the fact I have given birth.
Oh, you'd be surprised what goes on with social services. They're alone to themselves. The only ones higher than them are the monarchy and the Inland Revenue. They're more powerful than the police. The police jumped to the social services tune, not the other way round. In fact, I think last year, I forget which, you might remember this, Brendan, one of the chief constables turned around and said, "We're not a taxi service for social services." Because they're having to pick up kids that are running away from the care homes where they're getting abused and actually take them back.
You try getting a social worker on a Friday afternoon.
What's your opinion on family courts?
My polite version is that they should just be done away with, simple as that.
Right, okay.
Governments should always fear families. Families shouldn't fear governments.
Yeah.
And what we're living in now is a totalitarian fascist regime that is worse than Eastern Germany or Russia. They're taking children on the basis of a future risk of emotional harm. And yet they're placing kids in care homes and with foster carers where they're getting abused.
Where they get exactly. This seems to be a pattern that's constantly appearing throughout this documentary.
There might be a future risk of emotional harm, certainly from my perspective, and then they're placed into situations where they're actually being abused in the care homes and possibly by foster carers. The local authorities have to insure each child in a care home in case any accidents happen. So if that child is injured, they actually get a payout. And that money doesn't go to the child, to the biological parents, it goes to the local authority.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little way, isn't it?
So it's another sort of corruption.
I believe so.
Money.
I believe so.
Okay.
It's the biggest money-making racket that's going on. It's a scandal.
They're secret family courts. They get secret reports from Kafkas and the social workers. How can any family make a decent defence for itself if they haven't all the facts?
We were asked to turn the cameras off. We followed instructions. We turned both cameras off. We forgot to turn the dictaphone off that was right next to you on stage, Anne. Sorry about that, darling.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I just want to say that being asked to speak has come as a total surprise to me. We were invited to come along to the meeting this morning to see if actually there's anything I could learn from you to take back into social care. I'm more than happy to come back with something prepared if there are any particular questions from today that you want to go away and research and bring back to you. I'm more than happy to do that. I have to say that, listening to your experiences this morning, clearly that you've not had such positive experiences, as traumatic as they may be for you, it can be as traumatic for the society that's dealing with it. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than standing in a court listening to a case of adoption, because adoption is absolutely the last straw.
Just very quickly, do you have anything to add? As a social worker, do you have anything to add? Have you ever done something you wouldn't like to be found out in a family court?
The cameras are not on for any other reason other than I wasn't outside consent.
You said about how you're traumatised. I'm going through a living hell.
Absolutely.
This is worse than death.
Absolutely, and that's why I cannot answer any questions at all about any one of your cases because I do not know.
Well, I'm going to wait as soon as you finish that sentence.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get this out before you decide to run away. Now, from the point of view of not knowing anything about this, I've been thrown into this because close friends of mine have been put into this situation. There seems to be more bad social workers than there is good social workers. I mean, one thing that was shocking for me, never mind the people that were there and been through it, you know, they said that social workers are traumatised just as much as family members that have been through the things that they're doing to them. I'm sorry, I mean, there was people that walked out when she said that. They did take off very quickly. I think they were a bit embarrassed. I mean, she said she'd come back when she'd prepared something, but we didn't prepare anything.
When a child is taken and the parents have access to that child, they should not be censored and told what they can say and what they can't say.
We would look to stop contact if there were concerns about it, and that's why I'm concerned to hear that within a week you've mentioned that she could be coming home, that you're appealing it, and you've spoken to her about phone contact.
At the moment, the parents nearly always have to sign an undertaking that when they have contact with the child, they are not allowed to mention the fact that they love them and miss them, and certainly not the matter, and certainly not that they're fighting in court to get them back. So the child is often told, your mother doesn't love you anymore.
I was banned from writing to my daughter-in-law because they said I was passing her inappropriate material. Inappropriate material.
So sorry, let me just go back on that. You passed her a letter, yeah?
On the lines of, Mummy misses you, Mummy loves you, Pete loves you too, don't ever forget how much we love you. I had to reassure my daughter. I know these people work.
Of course you do.
How they work. And along the lines of, your dad's really upset he can't see you. I was passing on a simple message from birth father to birth daughter, and that was classed as inappropriate material.
Right. That was inappropriate, yet being in a foster home where one of the children is
abused
is
appropriate. Yeah, it's not deemed as the same level as telling my daughter I love her.
If Emma was to have sneaked a letter and it were found and it were reported, wouldn't that letter have secret information in? There were absolutely nothing.
I think there was something in it though that was asked because
I put a line in saying your dad's really upset that he can't see you.
I could understand it saying, you stand here and meet us at this time and we'll drive past it.
And snatch you off at road.
I could understand something like that being kept quiet.
The point is that if we're saying about supervised contact and that we see like letters or cards or anything like that, because we have to be careful about things that are passed on, not just saying.
There are a few glimmers of light. I mean, I would say that 20 years ago you wouldn't say that social workers were hated throughout the land. Now I think they are, so that's an achievement.
Yes,
Good
I
start.
suppose, yeah.
I am still waiting for that knock on the door where they come and raid my house. And I think the only reason that I haven't been nobbled, if you want the colloquial term, is the fact that they don't know where the evidence is. And a lot of it's already out there, so even if they stuck me with a gagging order, it's moot. Because you can't gag something that's already in public domain.
These draconian rulings on contact and all the rest of it are very, very common. And even worse is the claim you mustn't show any emotional warmth.
Yeah, exactly. There's no emotional warmth allowed.
Because that's what you're supposed to show to your kids. And it's supposed to be emotional abuse if you don't.
It's sort of a bit of an ironic statement,
yeah,
I suppose.
that is supposed to be, that would be regarded as emotional abuse.
Those children need that reassurance. And when that social worker says you do not love them, like they told me, you do not tell them you love them, you do not tell them you miss them, right? Ignore them.
So you weren't allowed to reassure your daughter that you loved her and missed her?
If I told her I missed her and Mummy were going to try and get her home and she'll be home soon, yeah, it was emotional abuse, and I was not to carry on doing that or they'd stop me contact.
They want to put that divide there to make their job easier, purely and simply. They have no concern for the children's feelings whatsoever. They are thinking about getting that job out of their hands and to the next one. And most of them have 10 or 15 jobs on at one go. You're not their prime subject, which it seems like. They're like that with everyone. It's not a personal thing. So don't get angry with them. Don't threaten them, right? Fight them with their own information.
Remember that social workers, and this is difficult for people who've never met them until they get into trouble to believe, the thing is they have no authority over you whatever. Please remember this. If they say this, we've got to do this, you've got to do this, we're taking your child, they have no authority. If I told any of you to go outside and sing God Save the Queen in the street, you wouldn't do it. You'd think I was a loony. Well, you know, that they have no more authority over you than I have, but people tend to just sort of think, oh, we must do what we're told. And the terrible thing is that by going along with social services, you get assessed by somebody who regularly appears in court for social services and is expected to give an adverse report on the parents. If they don't give an adverse report on the parents, they don't get any work again.
A foster carer was getting £400 a week for the girl she was looking after.
Yeah.
The girl was a very bright kid, and she managed to find her foster carer's bank statements.
Right.
And she could see that she would get her payment, and she was then paying money back to the social worker who was in charge of the case.
No.
Now, unfortunately, the evidence has been destroyed on the orders of a judge.
Let's say it happened in the oil industry. How many people in an industry like that have actually gone to jail for what they've done because they've covered something up? It's only a child. Children get older. They get over it. They don't. Children become adults, and at some point there's going to be a backlash.
A lot of social workers do wonderful work. There's only a few bad apples. Well, that sounds good, but the point is this, that if you belong to an organisation doing such terrible things to people, and you stay in that organisation past your one-year contract, and you don't get out, and you don't protest, then you become part of that organisation.
How many nice people do you know who were in the Gestapo? How many nice people were in the Ku Klux Klan? How many nice people were in Murder Incorporated? How many people were nice in the Spanish Inquisition? Publicity is the only thing these people are frightened of.
All the people that we have seen and who are involved in this situation, they don't know. They always think that they're alone. And they don't know where to turn to. And it's later on that you suddenly realise there's other people in this boat. And you think, my goodness. And thanks to this cameraman and yourself and all of you, I'm reaching outside my own circle.
Yeah.
You understand?
Exactly. Well, it's starting to grow a little bit more, and hopefully with this film we want to try and
please let
change
it happen.
something.
And you are doing something really good.
Thank you.
I mean it.
Thank you.
I mean it.
What you're doing with this film is trying to, in a terrific way, is to help to spread the word.
I was always told they vote with the feet. The hearts control them. And if the heart's damaged, the feet take them anywhere. And if the place they've been has been nasty, and they believe that the place that, from my point of view, will be safe, will be me, is bad, where do they go? So many end up on the street, so many end up criminals, or their lives bouncing from dilemma to terrible dilemma for the rest of the time, which gives social services more work.
Forced adoption itself is wrong. You know, no matter what, parents should at least know where their children have gone. They should know whether they're alive or dead. At the moment, forced adoption is closed adoption also, which means that you don't know who's got your children. They may be a lot worse than the parents, and frequently are.
I welcome the fact that Pete Middleton Pictures have decided to produce this film. I think I welcome anyone who has a go at looking underneath the stone and seeing what there is there and where all the problems are with the care system in this country and the damage it does to children and families and the extended families as well.
When I was being taken, my youngest, who is now 11, said to me, "Mummy, promise me you will never stop fighting for us." So I promised. and I'll keep that promise.
I don't need to tell you what the oldest profession in the world is, you probably know, but the second oldest profession is child trafficking. That's been going on ever since, in one form or another, since the time of ancient Greece or Europe. They took children from other countries and sold them as slaves, and that's been going on all the time. In Dickens' time, they went up chimneys and all the rest. They stopped that. As soon as something stopped, they found something else. 300 children went to forced labour by the Christian Brothers in Australia and were sexually abused, and Gordon Brown apologises 30 or 40 years later.
Yeah. It's always gone on, and if they just change the form.
That person doesn't work here anymore. They're in another department in another town, or in another department in the same town. Different badge, same job. That's what happens. It's the Sellafield and Windscale principle. Change the name, it didn't happen.
It's always gone on.
I'll tell you this, I won't be around to see it, you just might be. 30 or 40 years' time, someone else will be apologising for what they're doing now.
Yeah,
but it won't stop it, they'll find another way of doing it.
We are part of, we journalists, this film you're making is part of. There is a growing number of people who are determined to try and at least get the word out properly to the public that something is being done in their name which is actually, ultimately, criminal.
This is the reason we're doing this documentary. This is the reason that we're here today. I didn't know about any of this a year ago. I want to make sure, along with Pete Middleton Pictures, that everybody knows about this. That this becomes public knowledge. That this stops. You're brought up to respect.
You're brought up to trust and respect authority.
In terms of like when you said that we'll regret it, what do you mean?
together on our own. I said goodbye when I was 10 to Santa Claus and all his friends. I had to leave those childish stories all behind. But when they told me God was real, I just couldn't help but feel this burning question that was tugging on my mind. By the time I was 11, I had given up on heaven and everything was falling into place. I kept my mouth shut so I wouldn't rock the boat, because a kid who's fallen overboard is just too ashamed to float. And still the stars remain the same. Cold night, starlight, together on our
You're the guy in the clothes! You're all in the clothes! And what do you want us to take?
I presume we can get some things that they want us to take for it, can't we?
Take them outside.
So you know that's what we want us for it. Well, Jay's coming back. Is there anything that you want to send with him? Is there anything at all that you want to send with him?
Okay, good. You give them to me, I'll take them out.